All right, let's do this. We're about to tackle one of the absolute beasts of 20th century philosophy, Jean-Paul Sartre's Being and Nothingness. Now, I know it's a huge, scary-looking book, but trust me, in the next few minutes, we're going to crack it open and pull out the core ideas so they make perfect sense.
You know, to really get Sartre, his entire philosophy boils down to this one, very simple but very deep question. Who are you? No, seriously, take a second. What's your answer? Is it your job? Your personality traits? All the things you've done in the past? Well, get ready, because Sartre's answer is going to challenge pretty much all of that.
And Sartre's radical answer kicks off with his most famous idea of all. He wants us to just completely forget this idea of a fixed human nature, because for him, we've got the whole thing completely backwards.
Here it is, the big one. Existence precedes essence. Think about, say, a paper knife. Before that knife is ever made, someone has a plan for it, a purpose, an essence. But you? Sartre says you are nothing like that. You were just thrown into the world. You exist first, and only after that, through every choice you make, every action you take, do you start to build your own essence. You literally create who you are.
Okay, so how do we actually do that? How do we create ourselves? To explain it, Sartre splits all of reality into two fundamental ways of being, and this distinction, this is the engine that drives his entire philosophy.
So, on one hand, you've got being in itself. This is just stuff, the reality of objects. A rock is a rock, a table is a table. It's solid, it's complete, it just is. But then you have being for itself, and that, my friends, is us. That's our consciousness. And here's the wild part. We aren't solid things. We're defined by what we're not. We're a kind of lack, an emptiness, a nothingness that's always pointed toward the future, full of pure possibility.
And this nothingness isn't just some weird philosophical idea. Sartre has this brilliant example. Imagine you walk into a cafe, and you're looking for your friend Pierre. As your eyes scan the room, what's happening? The cafe, the people, all of it just becomes this blurry background. The main thing you're experiencing is the one thing that isn't there, Pierre. His absence is a real thing you can feel. It's a hole in the fabric of the cafe that your consciousness created. That's the power of this nothingness.
So, if we are this for itself, this constant possibility, it means nothing can pin us down. And the consequence of that is, well, it's both the most exciting and the most terrifying thing you can imagine.
Sartre says that what is right now can never lock in what is not yet. Think about it. Your past is what it is, sure, but it can't force your hand and decide your future, because your future doesn't exist yet. This means you are, in his famous words, condemned to be free. You can't not choose. Every single moment you're choosing, and you are 100% responsible for that choice. Let's make this concrete with his example of a tired hiker. The feeling of being tired. That's just a physical fact. It doesn't mean anything on its own. It's the hiker. It's you who chooses to give it meaning. Is it this unbearable weight that means you have to stop? Or is it a satisfying burn that proves you're pushing yourself? The meaning isn't in the feeling, it's in your choice. And that choice dictates what you do next. But let's be honest, that level of freedom is heavy. It's a huge burden, and it creates what Sartre calls anguish. So, being the clever creatures we are, we've come up with a brilliant way to try and escape it.
He calls this bad faith, and it's basically a lie we tell ourselves. It's when we pretend we're a static object, a being in itself, a thing with no choice. You know the lines, "Oh, I can't help it, that's just who I am," or "What was I supposed to do? I had no other choice." Anytime you say that, Sartre would say you're lying to yourself to hide from how free you really are.
So let's pause and get personal here. I want you to really think about it. That time you told yourself, "My hands are tied, I have no choice." According to Sartre's logic, was that actually true? Or were you just choosing not to see the other paths to avoid taking responsibility for them? It's a pretty tough question, right?
So far, this has all been about us, alone in the universe with our freedom. But now, things are about to get way, way more complicated. Someone else just walked into the room. For Sartre, the second another consciousness looks at you, something absolutely fundamental shifts in your reality. He has a simple but powerful name for this event. He calls it the look. The look basically turns you to stone. In that instant, all your infinite possibilities just collapse. You're no longer the free subject at the center of your own universe. Suddenly, you're an object in their universe. You're defined, you're judged, you're pinned down like a butterfly in a collection.
This, Sartre says, is the real meaning behind the myth of Medusa. Her gaze petrifies you, freezes you in place.
So, this all brings us to Sartre's final, mind-bending conclusion. With all this freedom, this nothingness, this constant battle with other people's perceptions, what on earth are we all trying to do with our lives? And this is where Sartre drops his most provocative claim. As a for itself, a consciousness, we're all possibility, but we have no solid foundation. An object, in itself, is solid, but it has no freedom. So what's the ultimate human desire? To fuse them. To be a being that is both completely free and completely solid. A consciousness that is its own foundation. In other words, we are all trying to be God.
And that brings us right back to the beginning, doesn't it? But now we see it with new eyes. Being and Nothingness isn't just some dusty old book. It's a direct challenge. It's telling you that your existence is entirely in your hands. So the real question isn't just, who are you? It's, since you have no choice but to choose, who are you going to choose to be?